Ted Ziegler is a former steward, union safety representative, and chairman of the Toxic and Hazardous Materials Committee of the AFL-CIO CLC Local Union 8031 at Rocky Flats, Colorado. He was employed at Rocky Flats from 3 of 1982 through 6 of 1993. He was present at Rocky Flats nuclear weapons plant for 3 out of the 4 contractors. Ted saw firsthand employee hazards and tried to intervene on behalf of those workers. His eyewitness accounts are central to our community concerns that Rocky Flats is an ongoing environmental hazard.
This is Ted Ziegler, former steward, union safety representative, chairman of the Toxic and Hazardous Material Committee on the Rocky Flats plant site, representing Local 8031 Union. First thing I would like to discuss on the contamination is Kaiser Hill closing and cleanup. And based on my personal opinion and experience working with 3 of the 4 Rocky Flats plant site major managing contractors, I worked as a local union safety representative at the plant site and can reassure everyone that there was never a mandatory, consistent procedure in place since 1951 through 2005. Management was reluctant to provide adequate safety and contamination control, contributing to elevated contamination to the environment, and this will exist on the Rocky Flats plant site for thousands of years. Asbestos abatement is one that I would like to discuss. It was never resolved on the buildings, any of the buildings on the Rocky Flats plant site. A 1989 inventory tour located 263 exposed and damaged asbestos in rooms, with priority requirements to encapsulate or remove from the locations in the rooms of each building identified. Then again in 1992, 2 years later, another inventory tour located and double the amount, 474 exposed and damaged asbestos in buildings, resulting in exposure to all of the employees in those work areas. Slide number 3. I'd like to discuss 1,400 barrels of mixed waste at a meeting in 1970 with the Atomic Commission. The union had concerns of 1,400 barrels of plutonium mixed contaminated waste, which included barrels of waste from the 903 pad, and were buried on both sides of the fence at the Security East entrance near Indiana. Burial sites on the Rocky Flats plant site containing toxic and hazardous material and waste have not been removed to this date. The next discussion I would like to discuss is beryllium samples that were taken plant-wide. Management and industrial hygiene dictated that the areas were to be pre-cleaned prior to the union radiological control technicians, RCTs, sampling the areas, and management and industrial hygiene controlled this method of sampling in order to hide the true ALARA limits of 25 micrograms per square foot that exceeded levels known to exist prior to the pre-cleaning of the work areas. Sampling and building air filtration systems, machinery, air ventilation, and overhead structures were denied by industrial hygiene due to lack of funding. The union requested many times to have an independent lab test taken on those areas prior to pre-cleaning. And when it was approved in Building 865, the lab results confirmed ALARA limits were very high and unacceptable to the contaminated work zones without personal protective equipment, PPE. I'd like to go to 5,000 barrels on the 903 pad. Many of the 5,000 barrels of plutonium contaminated mixed waste on the 903 pad were old and leaking. And a way to resolve any further topsoil contamination, some of them were buried in trenches, and the rest of the 5,000 barrels were disposed of at the discretion of management. Reception to employees is the next article that I would like to talk about. All of the 4 contractors told employees they were safe, yet many employees were and are having health issues or have died with the result of health issues of their exposures on the Rocky Flats plant site. On receiving shipments of beryllium at the Rocky Flats plant site is one of the examples. Building the management instructions at receiving was to remove hazardous labels on the beryllium logs before sending and transferring the materials to building 444 to be machined, resulting in management being reluctant to convey to employees that beryllium was very toxic and hazardous material upon inhalation. Next slide I would like to go to is the Christmas party. This Christmas party was at the Rocky Flats plant site in the beryllium machine shop in 1979. There are 10 employees eating in that work area 6-foot sub sandwich that was brought on the building 444 plant site. Beryllium machine shop, including 2 supervisors and 8 machinists. No masks were required to be worn from 1951 to 1979. Top row 2 supervisors are wearing street clothes and wearing them home. Facial hair on the supervisors and crew. No booties were required to wear. Christmas tree and lights brought on the plant site and taken home. Badges worn and taken home without deconning. Hats worn in the work area and taken home. Watches and jewelry in the work area and worn home. One machinist pictured has been diagnosed with chronic beryllium disease in 1984. These employees were also told they were safe. Have a number of people that have attended, as well as myself, addressing these health and hazardous issues with the Stewardship Council. At the meetings, we had a 3-minute time limit to provide information that we were concerned about. And when it came to Department of Energy addressing their issues at those meetings, they had as much time as they wished to provide information that it was safe at the plant site. The Department of Energy also expressed that soil sampling was not required. I asked at that one meeting what would happen if I would go out and take soil samples myself on the plant site. And the comment from them was, "You'll be arrested." It's next article I would like to talk about is the contractors, Department of Energy and DOE, and 4 major contractors, Dow Chemical, Rockwell International, EG and G, and Kaiser Hill, need to be responsible for the complete cleanup above and below the surface of the entire Rocky Flats plant site to be sampled and analyzed by an independent lab. And I thank everybody for the opportunity to discuss these issues. Have a good day.